another sewing tutorial. My name is Ann-Sophie and I'm the person behind Sewing with Solana. And today's sewing tutorial is gonna be for the Cassie top. When I first posted this on Instagram, I got so many messages that you want a sewing tutorial and a sewing pattern for this, so here we are. I'm gonna link the sewing pattern in the description below and then you can download it. And I've printed mine out in A0, you can also print it out in A4, but it just saves you a bit of time when you print it out in A0. And the main measurement you need for this top is of your bust, and then you can go to your size chart that's gonna come with the instructions to find your right size. And then it's time to cut out the paper pattern. And I'm gonna be using linen for my top. Mine is from an Etsy shop called Linen Dream Shop in the color Sunny Yellow, and I've already made a few skirts with it, so I think it's going to be super nice to have a matching top to go with the skirts. But yeah, now it's time to cut out the pattern, and then we cut out the fabric, and then we can start sewing, so let's go. The first thing that you need to do, there's always two boxes on your sewing patterns, and you need to check the measurements. It needs to be 5 centimeters and 5 centimeters, and then this box needs to be 2 inches and 2 inches, but if one box measures correctly, the other one will as well. I've printed mine out in black and white, but as you can see, like, all the sizes have different dotted lines, so even if you print it out in black and white, which is usually a bit cheaper, you just have to follow your dotted line. And I'm a size small, so I'm gonna follow this line. So now we start cutting out our fabric, and here we have the back piece, and we need to cut it out one time. And I always like pinning my pattern to my fabric. And one thing about the back, you need to make 2 notches right here. They are marked on your pattern, and this indicates where you will have to sew in the straps. And once you have pinned it, we can cut it out. So I'm just making a small notch here and another one here. And the front I cut out 2 times, so here we have it twice. And the bust part we have to cut out 4 times. And here it says front and back, so I would recommend you to stick a needle in here so later on we remember where the front is. And I'll explain to you later why it's important. So now here, this pattern piece, the strap 1, we have to cut out 4 times, so I have it here 4 times. And then strap number 2 we have to cut out once, and it needs to be on fold, which means the fabric, when we lay it on there, is folded. So the strap is double as long. So there's one more thing that I forgot to mention, what you need there's one more thing that I forgot to mention that you need to make your Cassie top. When you download the pattern, you probably saw it at the instructions, but you need bias binding, or some people call it bias tape. So it's a long strap of fabric that's cut on bias, and the edges are folded towards the middle and then ironed down. And we need this because we need to create a tunnel where we then pull our long strap through and tie it in the front. I forgot to buy mine. Also on your instruction page, there's you find how much you need for your size. But because I forgot to buy mine, and my fabric store is so far away, I'm not gonna drive for an hour now to buy it, so I'm gonna make my own. And maybe sometimes it's hard finding matching bias tape for your fabric in the exact same color. So I don't know, like if you find it in the right color, I would recommend you to buy it just because it's so much easier. Otherwise, we can make our own now. But actually, bias tape is cut on bias, and it's especially good for curved edges. But because we are not going to be sewing ours onto a curved edge, we don't need to cut ours on bias. And we're just going to cut it straight, which is totally fine, again, because we're not sewing it on a curved edge. And it's also saving fabric, and also actually, because I'm using my leftover fabrics from a few other sewing projects, I wouldn't even have enough to cut it on bias, I think. But yeah, again, follow the instructions, buy bias binding. If you can't find it in your color, we can make our own. Good thing is for this sewing project, because it's not a curved edge, it doesn't need to be cut on bias, it can be cut along the grain line. There's actually a cool thing that I want to show you. I've never showed you this before, I think, in none of the videos, but this is actually a cool thing to buy, and it's really not expensive. So this thing helps you make bias tape, and mine is 18 millimeters. So that means once the edges are folded and ironed in, mine is going to be 18 millimeters wide, so 1.8 centimeters. So if I want to use this, which I'm going to do, I need to cut out my fabric at a width of 3 centimeters. And in the instruction page, you can check how long your strap of fabric needs to be, how long your bias binding needs to be for your size. So here we have our tape that we have just cut out, and then we take our thingy, and you need to push it in there, and as you can see, and you just push it through there. And then if you want to, you can also turn it around, and I always like taking a needle to push it through. Oops. And now it comes out on the other side, folded like this. And now we just need to iron it down. And here's what it looks like. So now we're all on the same page again. Like, either you were smart enough and you bought your bias binding, or if you couldn't find it in your right color, or you also forgot to buy it like me, then we can, like, we have just made ours, and now we're all back on the same page. So now it's time to start sewing. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start with our straps. I'm first going to start with the super long one, and what we're going to do with it, we're going to take it, fold it in half, and then we're going to sew with a 1 centimeter seam allowance away from the folded edge. And then we're going to cut off the excess fabric, and then we're going to flip it inside out, and then we're going to do exactly the same thing to the 4 shorter straps. We're also going to fold them in half, sew with a 1 centimeter seam allowance away from the folded edge, cut off the excess fabric, flip it inside out, and yeah. So let's go do that, and then we continue with the next step. And now I'm taking my loop turner. This is a super nice tool to make straps. You push it through, like you stick it in one hole, push it all the way through till the other side. And then once it comes out on the other end, you just stick this little metal thing through here. And then you slowly go like this. So this is what it looks like. Later on we're gonna iron it, and now we're gonna do exactly the same to the other 4 short ones. So here's our long strap and here's the 4 short ones, and we can iron them later. So now we're just going to put them to the side and move on to the next step. So now we have our 2 front pieces and the back piece, and we're going to sew them together. So we're going to lay the back piece in front of us, then we're going to pin the front on one side. And then this side we're going to pin on here. So here we have, this is the back piece, and then we have 1 front piece here, 1 front piece here, and now we're going to start sewing from here down here, and we're going to do the same on this side and sew down here. And next we're going to go over to our iron and we're going to press the seams open, and then we're going to overlock them. And while we're at the iron, we can also iron our straps that we just made. So, and this is what it looks like now. And now one tip I can give you is we want to iron this seam towards the middle, so towards the back basically. And we're gonna do, oops, and we're gonna do the same on this side. This is just gonna make it look nicer in the end. Now we have the bed side facing us, like we're gonna lay the top in front of us with the seams facing us, and now we have to hem those sides of the front, like of this side and then also of the other side. So we're just gonna fold it 1 centimeter inwards and then 1 centimeter in again, and then we take some pins and pin it in place. And we do the same on the other side. And now we're gonna start sewing from here till there, and we're doing the same and just sew along here. Next up, we are gonna hem the end of the top, and now it's important. So here, you remember when we made the notches to know where we need to put the strap, so this is gonna be the top. So we're gonna do the hem over here. And we're gonna fold it in 1 centimeter and 1 centimeter again. And we're gonna do this all along from here till here. So now we're gonna sew from here all the way along here till the end here. Next step is we lay the top in front of us with the good side facing us. And now we're just gonna sew the straps on here. So we're just gonna find the little cuts that we made. And the other one is here. And now we're sewing them on, and I would recommend just sewing over them 2 times just to make sure they're safe. So now we can put the top to the side and we'll come back to it later. What we have to do next is we're gonna sew our cups for the bust part here. And once we have sewn them, then we're gonna sew them onto the rest of the top. And then we just need to sew the bias tape on it, and then we're basically finished. So let's go. So here's our bust part, and here we put the needle on this side to remember where the front is. I'm taking the needle out and only stick it through 2 layers, and then move this away, and then I'm taking another needle and sticking it here again to remember where the front is. And what we need to do now, we just focus on one for now. So we can put those away and we're just going to focus on this one. And what we need to do now is we need to sew them together, and we also need to sew the strap in here. So we're taking another one of the short straps and we're going to place them right here. And then we pin it in place. And we want to sew along here, across here, and then down here again. So I'm going to put this needle over here where we're not going to sew, but to remember that this is the front. And now I'm just going to pin everywhere where we want to sew. Now we're going to start sewing from here, across here, and then down here. So this part down here we leave open. And when we come to the strap, go over it twice to make sure it's really sewn in correctly. So this is what it looks like again, and I already pinned the other one together as well. So we can sew both of them now. So again we start here, across here, and then over here, and the same here. And now we are going to cut this little bit here off. And now we need to flip it inside out, so I'm just going to take the needle out and only stick it through one layer. And now we can pin them together again. And now we go over to our iron and we're gonna press the seams flat. And then we come back and sew it onto the top. So this is what they look like now that they're ironed, and I'm just gonna put one to the side and focus on this one, and we get our top again. And now we have the good side facing us and the bad side is facing the table. And now the reason why it's important that we remember where the front is, because now here where the front is, we're gonna line it up on this side here. And the other side where we didn't stick a needle into is facing towards the back. And now we need to pin it together. And we want to line it up with this edge here. And now we're just gonna take some needles and pin it together. So this is what it looks like now. We're gonna sew along here till the end here. And we're also gonna move the needle towards the right a bit, so we're sewing closer to the edge. So I'm moving to the needle towards the right. And now I'm actually gonna flip this the other way, just because I wanna start this side. I don't wanna start over here, so I'm just gonna flip it over. This is what it looks like now, and we're just gonna do the other side now. And again, we're gonna start sewing here and we're gonna finish over here. Now it's time to attach our bias band, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna take it and we're gonna fold it in 1 centimeter, and we have the cup facing us, and we're gonna start pinning it right on the edge here, and then just pin it along all the way. And now we're gonna fold this in here again for 1 centimeter. And now it's time to sew. We're gonna start here till the very end. Now we're moving the needle back into the middle again, and now it's time to start sewing. I'm gonna overlock this now because my fabric is fraying a lot. And to hide this now, I'm just gonna cut it off and make it a bit shorter. And I'm taking a big needle with a big hole in it, push it through here, put the threads through the hole, and then pull it through here, and then I can cut this off. The next step is that we need to fold this bias binding down like this, so it looks like this. So we're folding it towards the bed side, and then we're gonna do a stitch along the edge here. So we're gonna start on one side, folding it down, so it's gonna look like this, and I would recommend you to do this all along. And now we're just gonna sew quite close to the edge all the way to the end. So we have one last step left, and now we need to get this long strap through the tunnel that we have made. And either you can put a safety pin through here and then push it through, or you can again take your loop turner and push it through one side, like you start on one side and push it all the way to the other side. You just have to be a bit careful that you don't get twisted, get stuck in some of the overlock thread, especially at the side seams. The weather is so weird today. Like 1 second the sun is shining, 2 seconds later it's pouring down rain. But it looks like the sun is finally out. So now I've got it out, and now I'm going to push it through the strap. And once it's out, you can take this off. Ooh. And that's it. So you're gonna need to put it on now, and then you can tie it on top of your shoulder, and you can tie it in the front, and then you need to squish together the fabric of the bust part. So I'm going to show you how mine looks when it's worn. And I just want to say thank you again for watching this tutorial. I hope you were able to follow along, and I would love to see you wearing yours. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section below. I love this color. I can't wait to wear it. I'm going to show you how mine looks like worn in a few seconds. But yeah. Thanks so much again for watching this tutorial. Thanks so much for, if you have bought my sewing pattern, like it means so much to me. So cool, so happy what a big sewing community we are here now. And yeah, send me a photo when you wear your Cassie top. I would love to see it, and also let me know what other tutorials you want to see. And yeah, thank you. I'll see you at my next video. Bye.